Aloha, this is Dr. Steve. This is Chapter 3 on Configuring Color and Text with CSS in the Web Development book. Lots of things we're going to learn here, including the evolution of style sheets, advantages of style sheets, how to use color on a web page, creating style sheets, applying inline styles, applying embedded styles, using external styles, configuring elements, classes, IDs for contextual selectors, using the cascade, and validating style sheets. All right, overview here. If you've never gone to CSS Zen Garden, do so now. It'll blow your mind. So many things you can do with just style sheets. Style sheets have been around a long time in the world of desktop publishing, used mostly for typographical styles and spacing. Great functionality. Advantages are greater typography, page layout control, styles in a separate structure, as a separate document, or could be potentially smaller documents, easier site maintenance and modification. Huge advantages of style sheets. You have inline, embedded, external, and imported. We're really not going to touch imported. They're very similar to external. We're going to talk about inline, embedded, and external. Now, inline styles are in the body section. They are attributes within an HTML element. It applies only to that specific element. Embedded styles are in the head section. They are style elements, so they are real tags, and they apply to the whole web page, not just to a single element. So a little bit different there. And then you have external styles. This is a file with a .css extension. You have a link to it. Very useful for web sites. Imported styles is quite similar. We're not going to talk about it today. The rules are the same no matter what. The syntax is the same. You have a selector, in this case here we have body, a left curly brace, and a declaration property, and a declaration value separated with a colon. Then there should be a semicolon after the value, and the right curly brace. So here we have color blue. That's going to make the text of the body blue. Here's an example here. You have body color blue, background hyphen color yellow. You can use English words like this, blue and yellow, or you can use hexadecimal values by simply beginning with a hash mark, and we have 0000FF. So this is RGB. The B is the most here, so it's blue for the text, and the background color FFF00. So that's red and green the most, and because of the color, not paint, that will equal the yellow. Common things you can format are things like the background color, the color, font family, font size, style, weight, height. There's a ton of things you can do. A lot of these things are pretty easy to figure out. There are pages in the textbook and online that you can refer to for, reference. What are some of the things you can modify? Look at all the different colors you have here. Again, you can use English or hexadecimal. Hexadecimal begins with a hash mark. There are charts all over the place you can refer to. They're always in pairs, RGB. Here's some examples here on this slide of the deck. Okay, now there are 216 colors that are commonly displayed the same in Mac, on Macs or PCs. I would encourage you to use those. If you have to go beyond them, well, just understand that depends on what the end user has as far as how it's going to look. Be careful of your color choices. For some people who are color challenged, such as myself, I'm colorblind, you may not see things quite the same way. You should make sure that your color choices work for everybody who accesses the colors. The Eric Meyer stuff I highly recommend. Very good examples. You can pause this video anytime and go to these sites. Very good sites to talk about color. I encourage you to use the resources that are available to you online. Okay, so we're doing an inline style sheet. We can configure the body of the web page. We can use the attributes. We're going to apply that specific element, in this case, the body. Look at the example here. Here's an H1 style. We're not going to do body inside. It's H1. Color equals, and all apply to this H1. Here we have red text. There's no white background. This is just for you to see. Sorry about that. Should be a semicolon after the zeros there. All right, here's an example of inline that has multiple property values, color and background color. So we have color, the text is red, the background is gray. The white doesn't exist, again, just for you to see. Embedded, as opposed to inline, embedded is within a style element in the head part of your HTML document. We have beginning and ending style tags. And again, the syntax for the style rules is the same. That's nice, actually. It's all the same no matter where you put the style. Here's an example here of an embedded style sheet with the body H1 and H2 declared within the body. And of course, every body, within a style, sorry, then every body, every H1 and H2 is controlled by these rules here. There's only one body, but there could be multiple H1 and H2s. These rules will apply to all. And notice how the H1 and H2 override the body declaration. Okay, you should be able to identify 3 reasons to use style sheets. You should be able to control color and describe an advantage of an embedded style versus an inline. All right, let's look at some more stuff here. More properties you can configure: font weight, font style, font size, font family, tons of things. If you're doing size, I recommend you use M's or a percentage. You'll get better responsive web design. Depending on the size of the display. If you use very exact values, things are going to look a little funky if the display is smaller or larger. M's are actually the width of an M. Font family is very important. You should put 3 different options. At the bottom, you see font family: Arial, Verdana, Sans Serif. First choice, Arial. Second choice, Verdana. Third choice, if the other 2 don't exist, any sans serif font. Again, here's an example of embedded style sheet. You'll see embedded style sheets can get quite large. You have body H1, H2, P, and UL. Again, be clear on inheritance. Body covers everything. H1 will override the body for all the H1 elements and so forth. You can do things like control the line height of the element. 200% equals basically double space. Text align text and text decoration. Text transformation, letter spacing, word spacing. Text shadow, very cool. Get used to text shadow. Get familiar with that. It's very useful. Looks very nice. And it's not too hard to do. Okay, so you have HTML elements you can control. You have class selectors, you have ID selectors, and you have descendant selectors. So you're already familiar with using HTML. We've got the body and H1, H2. Class is something you can define anything you want to call it, wherever you want. Here we have example dot new. Classes begin with a dot, that is a period. And then again, the syntax for the declaration is the same. So you declare it in one place in the style element, for example, style tag, and then you call it, or you apply it within the body. Here we have a P class equals quote new, end quote, greater than sign. So here we're applying the new class to this text. IDs work the same way, except classes can be used multiple times. IDs can only be used one time. You're going to use IDs a lot for a lot of different reasons. Only use it one time. And you declare an ID with a hash mark. So here we have hash new, and then the syntax for the actual rule is the same. Here you have an example of a descendant. Here we have a P, that is a paragraph inside of a content ID. So this will only apply to paragraphs within this ID. It does not apply to paragraphs that are elsewhere in the HTML file. Hence the concept of contextual or descendant selector. Span elements are really small inline phrasing, usually within a paragraph, so you want to make text bold or italic or something. Then you would use a span. Here's an example. We're going to use a company name class, and we can take the company name class and put it in a span, and we can make it boldface so the word Acme Web Design looks bold. Very common use of spans. External style sheets, those are separate files. They have a .css extension created with a Notepad++, flat ASCII editor kind of thing. You basically just link to that style sheet. You can have multiple files, and in fact, you probably would have multiple files linking to that external style sheet so that all of the pages of the site would have a common look or feel to them. They kind of hang together. We use a link element to connect the HTML file to the style sheet file. Here we have link relationship style sheet. href equals in the pathway to the file. Here it's right next door, color.css. Again, syntax is the same. You can put all this on one line, by the way, multiple lines. Here you have it on 3 lines, 2 to 4 lines. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever makes it easier for you to read. Okay, second checkpoint, you should be able to give a reason for using embedded styles, give a reason for external styles, be able to code and link something that's external. Centering content is really important. The best way to do it is with a wrapper or a container. Margin left auto, margin right auto, and the width, that is the inside part, at 80%. This makes everything look kind of nice. Understand the cascade. First is the browser default, external overwrites that, embedded overwrites that. Your inline style, which is as close as possible to the element, overwrites that. Understand how this cascade works and you will have fewer problems, I guarantee you. Validate everything, make sure it all works. Sometimes it's the line above the thing where it stops working, that is the problem. If you can't see it, your friend can't see it, send it to a validator. That's about it, guys. Please review this as many times as you like. Pause me, stop me, whatever. Aloha.